The story of the FIFA World Cup is not just about football. It's a story of ambition, determination, politics, war, legendary players, and one dream that changed sports forever. To understand how it all began, we need to go back more than 100 years. In the early 1900s, football was growing rapidly around the world. Countries across Europe and South America were falling in love with the game. Stadiums were filling with passionate fans, and national teams were becoming symbols of pride. But there was one major problem. There was no true world championship. Countries could play friendly matches. They could compete in regional tournaments. But there was no competition that could answer one simple question. Which nation was the best football team in the world? Then came a man with a vision. His name was Jules Rimet. At the time, he was the president of FIFA, football's governing organization. While many people saw football as just another sport, Rimet saw something much bigger. He believed football had the power to unite people from different countries, cultures, and backgrounds. His dream was simple but ambitious: create a tournament where the best national teams in the world could compete against each other for a global title. Today, that idea sounds obvious, but back then, it sounded almost impossible. International travel was expensive. Communication between countries was slow. Many football associations weren't convinced. Some people thought no one would be willing to travel such long distances just to play football, but Jules Rimet refused to give up. After years of planning and negotiation, FIFA finally approved the idea. The first FIFA World Cup would take place in 1930. The host nation would be Uruguay. At that time, Uruguay was one of the strongest football nations in the world. The country had already won Olympic football gold medals and was celebrating the 100th anniversary of its independence. Everything seemed perfect. Well, almost everything. Getting teams to Uruguay was a huge challenge. Remember, this was long before commercial air travel became common. Teams couldn't simply book a flight and arrive a few hours later. Many European teams had to spend weeks crossing the Atlantic Ocean by ship. Imagine preparing for the biggest tournament of your life while living on a boat for weeks. Not exactly ideal. Because of these travel difficulties, many countries decided not to participate. In the end, only 13 teams entered the tournament. Today that number might sound small, but at the time it was a remarkable achievement. No one knew what to expect. Would fans care? Would the tournament succeed? Would it become a permanent event? As the matches began, those questions slowly disappeared. The tournament created excitement everywhere, dense-packed stadiums. New football heroes emerged, and the competition quickly captured people's attention. The final match was played between Uruguay and Argentina. The atmosphere was electric. Both countries were fierce rivals. Tensions between their supporters were extremely high. More than 60,000 spectators filled the stadium. Supporters from both nations were desperate to see their team make history. Argentina actually led at halftime, but Uruguay came back stronger in the second half. Goal after goal, the home crowd grew louder and louder. When the final whistle finally blew, Uruguay had defeated Argentina for 2-2. The home crowd erupted with joy. Uruguay became the first FIFA World Cup champion. And at that moment, a new chapter in sports history had officially begun. But nobody could have imagined just how important this tournament would become. As the years passed, the World Cup continued to grow. More countries wanted to participate. More fans wanted to watch. The excitement surrounding international football was increasing every year. Then the world changed. In 1939, World War II began. The conflict spread across continents, destroyed cities, and affected the lives of millions of people. Soldiers replaced footballers on the world stage. Stadiums that once hosted matches now stood empty. The World Cup scheduled for 1942 and 1946. For 6 long years, there were no international tournaments, no matches, no finals, no champions. Football suddenly became far less important than the struggles facing the world. For a while, it seemed possible that the World Cup might never return. Many people wondered if the tournament had come and gone forever. The future was deeply uncertain. But when the war finally ended, something remarkable happened. People wanted reasons to celebrate again. They were exhausted from conflict. They craved joy, unity, and hope. And football provided exactly that. The World Cup returned in 1950. Fans welcomed it back with incredible enthusiasm. The tournament had survived one of the darkest periods in human history. And now it was entering a completely new era. The rise of television changed everything. For the first time, fans could watch matches from far away without traveling to stadiums. Suddenly, football was entering people's homes. Children could watch their heroes perform incredible moves. Families could experience dramatic matches together. The World Cup was no longer limited to those who could buy tickets. Now entire nations could share the experience. And with greater exposure came greater stars. One player in particular would help transform football forever. His name was Pelé. When Pelé appeared at the 1958 World Cup in Sweden, he was only 17 years old. Most teenagers worrying about school exams. Pelé was helping Brazil win a World Cup. He scored 6 goals in the tournament, including 2 in the final. His talent amazed fans around the world. His goals, creativity, and confidence made him an international superstar almost overnight. More importantly, he helped establish Brazil as one of football's greatest nations. Over the years, Brazil continued building a legacy that remains unmatched. Every generation seemed to produce new heroes. Players whose names would be remembered forever. In 1966, England hosted the tournament and lifted the trophy for the first time. Sir Bobby Moore lifting that golden cup at Wembley became one of football's most iconic images. Then came Diego Maradona, a small, powerful player from Argentina who seemed to carry his entire nation on his shoulders. His performances at the 1986 World Cup in Mexico became truly legendary. In one single tournament, he delivered both the most controversial goal ever scored, the infamous hand, and what many still call the greatest individual goal in World Cup history. In just 11 seconds, he dribbled past 5 England defenders before calmly placing the ball in the net. The commentator's voice still echoes today. What a goal! What a goal! Even decades later, football fans still debate and discuss those moments. Then came Zinedine Zidane, the elegant French maestro who guided his nation to World Cup glory in 1998, playing some of the most intelligent football the tournament had ever seen. Then came Ronaldinho, whose smile was as famous as his skill. Then Ronaldo, the Brazilian phenomenon, who top-scored and won the Golden Boot at the 2002 World Cup, silencing critics who thought his best days were behind him. Each new tournament brought new stories, new drama, new magic, and new reasons for fans to fall in love with football all over again. By this point, the World Cup had become far more than a sporting competition. It had become a global event. Hosting the tournament became a matter of national pride. Countries invested billions of dollars preparing for the competition. New stadiums were built, roads were upgraded, airports were expanded. Entire cities transformed themselves to welcome the world. For 1 month, the host nation became the center of global attention. And the numbers kept growing. Hundreds of millions became billions. The World Cup audience expanded to nearly every corner of the planet. Whether someone lived in a giant city or a small village, there was a good chance they were watching the same matches at the same time. That kind of global reach is incredibly rare. Very few events can unite people on such a massive scale. And perhaps that's what makes the World Cup so special. It's not just about football. It's about shared moments. Moments of joy, moments of heartbreak, moments that people remember for the rest of their lives. By the way, if you're enjoying this journey through football history, make sure you're subscribed to Mr. Shazade, where we explore incredible stories, legendary moments, and fascinating events from around the world. Now let's continue because the World Cup story is far from over. In recent years, football entered a completely new age. The internet connected fans instantly. Highlights spread across social media within seconds. Debates exploded online between supporters on opposite sides of the world, and new superstars emerged to carry the sport forward. Two names dominated football conversations for more than a decade: Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, two players so talented that fans argued endlessly about who was truly the greatest. Both had broken records that seemed unbreakable, and both had won everything club football had to offer. But one thing separated them in the eyes of many fans: the FIFA World Cup. For Messi, it became football's greatest unfinished story. Tournament after tournament, he came close but never close enough. 2006 2014, where he reached the final but watched Germany lift the trophy. For years, people questioned whether he could ever claim football's ultimate prize. Then came the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar, a tournament that delivered surprises from the very first day. Saudi Arabia shocked Argentina. Japan defeated Germany and Spain. Morocco became the first African nation ever to reach a World Cup semifinal, inspiring an entire continent. Fans around the world were watching with disbelief. Drama filled every match. And then came the final, Argentina versus France. What many experts now call the greatest World Cup final in history. Argentina led to 2-0 with just minutes remaining. Then Kylian Mbappé, France's young superstar, scored twice in quick succession. 2-2. Extra time arrived. Messi scored again. Mbappé scored again. 3-3. The world held its breath. A penalty shootout would decide everything. When Argentina's goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez saved the final kick, millions of people watching around the world erupted simultaneously. And then came the moment. Lionel Messi, 35 years old, raised the World Cup trophy above his head. For millions of fans, it was a moment they had waited years, even decades, to see. Some people cried. Some embraced complete strangers. Some simply stood in silence, overwhelmed by what they had just witnessed. A moment that instantly became part of football history forever. And that is the beauty of the World Cup. Every tournament creates new memories. Every tournament introduces new heroes. Every tournament gives us stories that people will talk about for decades. From a small competition featuring just 13 teams in 1930 to a global spectacle watched by billions, it survived wars, economic crises, political tensions, and countless challenges along the way. Yet it continued growing, inspiring, continued bringing people together, because at its heart, the World Cup represents something bigger than football. It represents dreams, hope, passion, and the belief that for a few weeks for years, anything is possible. A small nation can defeat a giant, and a known player can become a legend. And history can be rewritten in 90 minutes. So here's a question for you. What is the greatest World Cup moment of all time? Is it Pelé's brilliance in 1958? Maradona's impossible goal in 1986? Zidane's 2 goals in the 1998 final? Or Messi finally lifting the trophy in 2022? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Mr. Shafsaid for more incredible stories from the world of sports and history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.